Yo, what is up everyone? OG over here from Player Essence and welcome to another PE Nintendo Switch and gaming news video. Today we have some awesome information for you guys like always, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So the Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap and SteamWorld Dig 2 on the Nintendo Switch have been selling extremely well for independent games. Now, according to the developers on the game, when it comes to the Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap, the game has actually crossed 100,000 units sold on the Nintendo Switch. That is more than all the other versions of the game combined. So the developers are having a lot of success with that game. And also another thing to note with that is that that game is a little bit more of a premium priced title, and it's a remake of the original one, so that's pretty good for it to be doing so well. Now moving on to SteamWorld Dig 2, that game apparently has sold 10 times the amount that it sold on Steam. Now all you have to do is go over to Steam Spy, which tracks how many people have purchased the game or owned the game on Steam, and it sold around 30,000 copies. So doing some simple math, that shows that the Nintendo Switch version of SteamWorld Dig 2 has sold around 300,000 copies or more on the Nintendo Switch, which I can tell you right now, guys, is absolutely phenomenal for a third-party independent company like Image & Form. I bet they're really happy with the sales, and if you combine everything up when it comes to PS4 and when it comes to the Steam and everything, they're probably over 500,000 units sold, or maybe near 500,000 units sold, which is really good for that style of game, and I'm so happy for Image & Form because SteamWorld Dig 2 is a very high-quality release. I almost don't want to say, oh, just indie, you know, because people like to devalue what the game is if you say indie. It's just a great third-party game on the Nintendo Switch. That's how good that game is. If you play it, you're going to get so much content out of it. It makes use of the HD rumble and all the features that the Switch has. It's fantastic for portable play. It's such a great game, and I can understand why it sold 300,000 copies plus, and it's still going, guys. It's not like the Nintendo Switch is going anywhere. It's not like it's going to flop like the Wii U or anything like that, or even off to a bad start like the 3DS had. So more people are going to continue buying SteamWorld Dig as the years go on. It might reach 1 million one of these days, depending on how long they push the game. So it's really good to see SteamWorld Dig 2 and also the Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap sell well on the Nintendo Switch. These are the type of games that people want to play on their TV, in addition to portable play as well. I put 15 plus hours into SteamWorld Dig 2, and a majority of that was just lying down. So it's really cool to see these games really do well on the Nintendo Switch. So what do you guys think about the Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap and SteamWorld Dig 2 both selling really well on the Nintendo Switch? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Alright, and getting into the next article here, Shinji Hashimoto says that 2018 will be a big year for Final Fantasy. Several new titles are in development. Now 2018 will be a big year for Final Fantasy that sees the release of multiple new titles, according to Square Enix producer Shinji Hashimoto. Quote, "Next year will be the 31st year, and our teams are busy working on new titles." Hashimoto said in a recent interview, "They are all gearing up for a big year next year. Next year is going to be a big year." Hashimoto added that, quote, "Next year will be a big one, and we will bring exciting new Final Fantasy titles to the world." The Final Fantasy series will turn 30 years old on December 18th, 2017, and you can check out the full interview link in the description below. So let's talk about this just a bit, because Final Fantasy and Nintendo have this weird history. Obviously, Final Fantasy started out Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Nintendo got it, then the whole thing happened with the PlayStation, and pretty much since then things have been kind of rocky. And although we've gotten Final Fantasy titles on Nintendo platforms after that, everything's just kind of been like a spin-off, or it's kind of been like a smaller title. We haven't really seen any mainline Final Fantasy games on a Nintendo system in a very long time. Everything has just been spin-off, 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 and then recently with the whole debacle with Final Fantasy 15 and everything that goes there, nothing really gives me too much hope that Final Fantasy is going to, okay, here we go, we got Final Fantasy for the Nintendo Switch when it comes to a mainline title. But with that being said, does that mean that I need that, or does that mean that it's not going to happen? Absolutely not. We can definitely see something like Final Fantasy VII Remake potentially be announced for the Nintendo Switch, or maybe even an older mainline Final Fantasy title be announced for the Nintendo Switch. There could be remakes in the works for that. Square Enix did say that they want to retroactively reboot IP in addition to bringing their older catalog over, maybe sprucing it up, remakes, stuff like that on the Nintendo Switch. So maybe we see some of the older Final Fantasy games come over to the Nintendo Switch, and I'd actually be perfectly fine with that. Stuff like World of Final Fantasy still hasn't came over to Nintendo Switch, so maybe even stuff like that should be coming. I honestly think that Square Enix is probably prepping some games to be coming over. Maybe even something like Final Fantasy Lightning Returns and Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 13-2 will come to Nintendo Switch. So we'll see what happens. But even then, some people are probably thinking that Final Fantasy 7 Remake is probably going to release in 2018. So that could be something that's good. I mean, obviously, I want to play Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Looks like it's going to be coming to the PlayStation 4 first before it comes to other systems. So I'll be buying that no matter what. It doesn't matter what system it comes out on first. I'll be picking up Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and then I'll double dip if it does come to Nintendo Switch at some point. But yes, it looks like it's going to be a big year for Final Fantasy. That could mean multiple titles. Obviously, they're releasing Final Fantasy 15 on the PC. It's like 170 gigabytes or something like that. Big old huge 4K version of Final Fantasy 15 on the PC. So we'll see how that does. But overall, big year for Final Fantasy. Hopefully those titles, or hopefully some of these Final Fantasy titles, come over to Nintendo Switch, because we still haven't gotten anything when it comes to Final Fantasy on a Nintendo system as far as mainline in a while. And I would like to see some of these Final Fantasy titles come over to Nintendo Switch so I can play it anywhere I want. So what do you guys think about what Hashimoto had to say, and what Final Fantasy games would you like to see come over to the Switch? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Alright, and moving into the last article here, we have a huge interview that just went down recently with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 producer Tetsuya Takahashi and Yasunori Mitsuda, as far as lots of stuff with the game, the music, when the project began, rare blades, and so much more. Now, I'm not going to go over everything, and the translation is even listed on here as not necessarily being 100% accurate, but at the same time, it is pretty good as far as this information. So let's go ahead and get right into it here. The first thing we've learned is that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 project began in July 2014. At that time, Monolith Soft was very busy with Xenoblade Chronicles X, but they worked on both of them in parallel. That explains why they were able to complete Xenoblade Chronicles 2 so soon after Xenoblade Chronicles X, less than 3 years. Besides them using everything they learned and built from that game. Unsurprisingly, the development team didn't know what the specs of the Nintendo Switch would be when the project began. It was July 2014, even before the first mention of the NX console back in March 2015, and more than 2 years before the reveal in October 2016. However, they had a rough idea of what the console would be like, so they made a proposal for the game. They got the okay from Hitoshi Yagami, who told them, yes, this is it. Nice. Xenoblade Chronicles X, while sharing many aspects with its predecessor, changed the formula a fair bit, which didn't please all fans. Some of them wondered why Monolith Soft changed the formula so much in the first place. Tetsuya Takahashi explained that Xenoblade Chronicles X was developed to allow fans to enjoy exploring a wide open world, but in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the focus is more on the story, like the original, so it's more orthodox game than the predecessor. Of course, if you've seen the various trailers and presentations for the game, you know there's still many large areas to explore, even if it's not a full open world game like Xenoblade Chronicles X was. With the previous games, some fans complained that the battle system made it hard to both move your character and select arts on the arts palette, but in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the development team came up with a much more intuitive system that makes use of the A, B, X, Y buttons, the direction button used for switching blades on the fly. Regarding the music, Tetsuya Takahashi explains that Yasunori Mitsuda is a pretty important composer for him, so we really wanted to work with him again. The soundtrack is said to feature no less than 120 tracks, with 25 composed by Yasunori Mitsuda himself. In Xenoblade Chronicles, people really liked the field tracks by Ace and the battle tracks by Kenji Hiramatsu, so they were asked to compose the same kind of tracks for this game. And since the soundtrack for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is pretty high quality, Yasunori Mitsuda would really love to have an orchestral concert featuring the game. It's just not him though. There's no doubt fans would love this concert too. As for blades, if you've been following the regular Twitter updates, you already know there's a lot of rare blades in the game, designed by many guest character designers. The reason they thought of asking those guest character designers to help is precisely because of the large number of rare blades to be found in the game. Also, since they do not have a character designer internally, they had to ask people outside of the company. The character designers in charge of rare blades were given some elements to work with, weapons, attributes, rough materials, and they were free to design whatever they wanted to use, using those as a base. And they ended up with a lot of female rare blades as a result. It doesn't look like it's something the development team asked for specifically. And in true gacha fashion, some rare blades can be extremely rare. Tetsuya Takahashi hopes that players will discuss the kind of rare blades upgrades they end up getting with other players. Finally, an aspect of the game people have praised is the improved character models, especially the faces, which received harsh criticism in the previous 2 games. But the thing is, the staff working on that really hasn't changed compared to the past 2 games. So Xenoblade Chronicles X does launch this Friday. I'm going to be playing the game quite a bit, and this is so much cool information. It's an amazing game. Go out there and buy it. I've been talking about it almost every single day for like the past year. I mean, seriously, since it launched, I've just been talking about it so much. Whatever bit of information we get, it is an amazing game. This article is fantastic as far as everything here, and shout outs to Perfectly Nintendo for the translation as well. So I'm super excited. You guys know I want the game. What do you guys think about all this information here? I think my favorite thing about this is that how a lot of the rare blades, or some of them, are going to be extremely rare, so it's going to be cool to see what you get and when you get it. So I can't wait to dive into that, man. So what do you guys think about everything when it comes to the battle system, the music, and what they talked about in this article here? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Alright, Ninja, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description below. We've got Facebook, we've got Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Really helps us spread the content of Player Essence across the interwebs in addition to YouTube. Also, make sure you check out our Patreon and YouTube live gaming page and consider supporting Player Essence. When you do so, it gets you access to all sorts of cool benefits, perks, emotes through sponsorship, and more. So check out the link in the description below and consider supporting Player Essence right here on YouTube. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Lets me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to Player Essence for the latest RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next video. Peace!